Hey everyone, welcome to the program WRSA Radio. I am your host, Grenadier One. As always, I hope you are having a good week. It's been a busy one for me. However, I have had time to observe the truckload of garbage that has been served up in the Patriot community this week. And that's what we're going to talk about today. You may not know what I'm talking about, what happened last weekend in Idaho, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Apparently, a local group of alphabet people decided that they wanted to put on a pride event, which included drag queen story hour for the little kids. And this obviously didn't sit well with everyone who was local to this, and so some protests took place. People went out and used their First Amendment and vocalized their opposition to this. And during this protest, a U-Haul van was coming into the area, and it was immediately stopped by the local police department, and they cracked it open, and in the back were about 30 young men in the uniforms of the Patriot Front organization. Now, you know about these guys. We've talked about them before. They were all taken out of the van, handcuffed, and arrested on an absolutely bogus, paper-thin charge of conspiracy to riot, which is very likely to completely disappear when lawyers get involved. But that was not the point of this heavy-handed, oppressive tactic. The point was that putting them in jail, for this made-up charge, kept them from exercising their First Amendment rights and protesting this pride event. And secondly, and perhaps probably really more of the intent of this, is that it exposed the identities of all of the 30 young men, and their names and photos were almost immediately published, and thus they were legally doxxed. And now they will face retribution in their personal lives due to groups like Antifa and others targeting them, and they will be fired from their jobs or expelled from schools or groups that they're in, so on and so forth. That is the lot of anyone who goes against the mainstream, which really isn't mainstream, the imposed doctrine of our elites these days. Now, all this is very interesting stuff, and it makes for a good legal discussion, and it could turn into a big court case and so on, which might prove to end up being productive for our side of things. But it really plays second fiddle to what happened after this weekend, because what took place on Gab, and I know of at least a couple of other platforms, was perhaps the most cowardly display of bootlicking and self-destructive behavior that I have ever witnessed in a political movement or a political environment. It's infuriating me what went on. So let me explain to you, if you're unaware of what was taking place kind of in the aftermath of this. I know not everybody gets on social media too much. Not everybody sees all of the things that go on. So, let me elaborate a little bit. For the entire week, we've seen posts and conversations between people who are supposed to be on the same side, just about, everything, but they have just absolutely rending each other into ribbons over this. We have people blocking each other on the platforms, which might be one of the most childish responses to, hurty words that I have ever seen or that you can have. But nonetheless, people were doing that. We have people throwing the most horrible insults and invectives at one another, accusing people of either supporting child abuse or supporting Nazis. It's been disgusting. Now, no one has taken a moment to kind of stop and look at yourselves and cool down the waters here and take a minute to recognize that you're doing the work of the elites for them. You may have accomplished more in this last week to harm our side of the conflict than anything they've done in the past month. And this is what they want. They want us to do the work for them. They want us at each other's throats, united, divided, and mired in internal conflicts and factionalism. That's the whole energy behind these efforts. Now let me explain a bit further so you get it, and hopefully you will pass the link to this video on to the ignorant dumbasses who can't see what is happening right in front of them. When they start this nonsense, they just can't see what they're doing. This is all centered around Patriot Front. One faction believes that Patriot Front is legit and doing good work, and they're putting in valid efforts to support our side of the conflict, both politically and culturally. They have valid points. The other faction is convinced that Patriot Front is completely phony. They're either outright controlled by law enforcement, Fed law enforcement, or they are so infiltrated by Feds that it is in effect the same thing. And alternatively, they are looked at as being directly controlled by some shadowy group or team from, well behind the scenes that represents the elites. Now, I don't care what side of the fence you come down on here, and even my own personal take on them is irrelevant. It doesn't matter what I think about them. It's good to be skeptical of organizations, sure, that's good, that's no doubt, that's a good thing. But when we're talking about groups like this, keep your opinion to yourself unless you're privately asked about them. In other words, don't say one way or the other unless someone asks you about them in person or in some kind of private message. When you publicly denounce someone on our side, you're doing the work of the left. Okay, the left does not do this. They say nothing, or they defend their people to the very end. And by doing so, they present a far more united front than we have ever gotten close to. And here's why that's important, because some of you are already shaking your heads and saying, well, why would we copy what the left is doing? Well, because they're good at this, okay? And they're just as capable of having good ideas as they are of having evil ones, okay? When something works, you adapt to that. You look at that and you go, hey, you know what? What they're doing is working, so we should do that too. This works because it does not tear down our side, and it does not present opportunities for our enemies to exploit. They will drive a wedge into those little small cracks that form, okay? The left is not perfect here, though, and you can look back in history, and you will very often see that when their movements fail in revolutions and whatnot, it's largely because they internally devolved into factions, and those internal rifts were exploited by the governments that they were fighting and used to tear them apart. Now, I've gone over some of these things before, but, hey, I admit, I have a low viewership, so not everybody gets the message, right? And let me say this again, and like I said, I hope, hopefully you guys will pass this episode on to everyone that needs to hear it, all right? Regardless of what you think of Patriot Front, stop. Stop talking about them, stop defending them, and most assuredly stop trying to discredit them and bring them down. Okay? Defending them wastes your energy and your efforts. Unless you are directly involved with them, you don't really have a horse in the race, and you risk discrediting yourself if they turn out to be exactly what they're being accused of being. Okay? So just let them stand and deliver on their own and defend themselves. If you notice, very few words are coming directly from Patriot Front to speak about their actions and who they are. They either don't have the time and energy to defend themselves, or more than likely, they just don't care what boomers think about them on the internet, okay? So they don't need you to carry their water for them if they're not interested in doing it for themselves. And if you're attacking them because you think they are glowy or they're a Fed op, you really need to stop that, okay? More than the guys defending them, you need to stop. I understand that you think you're doing the right thing, and you think you're protecting something, but the fact is you're not doing any of those things, okay? Your words are not going to stop someone from joining them. They have an appeal, they have an attraction for young men, and you telling them, oh no, this is a glowy op, those guys aren't going to listen to you, okay? They're going to join them. Your words are not going to do anything to stop that. Your words are not going to be used as evidence by the media to show that the mainstream right does not approve of Patriot Front. If they are who you say they are, then the elites and the media are going to drive that narrative, to its desired end. And it doesn't matter one single iota what you say about it. Okay, the right does not need you to defend its virtue. That should stand on its own and be self-evident. Our beliefs, our ideals, our philosophies should stand on their own, and they don't need you to come out and say, no, we denounce this group, what have you, whatever. It stands on its own. And it's not going to matter anyway, because like I said, the feds they're going to do what they're going to do, whatever you say. What you are doing, though, is you're sowing division and possibly even helping the feds spread disinformation. What if you're 100% wrong about Patriot Front, and what you're doing is spreading lies that were started by the feds because they're having a problem infiltrating these guys? Okay? Sometimes, when you look at certain organizations, you say, well, I want to get people inside of there. Well, maybe you don't have any luck getting people inside of there. So you go, well, okay, well, what can I do to discredit them? Well, I'll just start rumors. I'll just make up stuff, and I'll get the people who, are within their side to spread those rumors to make them look bad. How stupid would you feel if that was what you were doing? You don't feel stupid now because you think you're doing the right thing, but what if you're not? How stupid would you feel if it came out that you were spreading this disinformation from the feds? You're wasting your own energy and efforts to try to bring down something that you're not even remotely connected to. You're not a part of it. You're not the target of it. It's like you've jumped in to help out the elites without even being asked to. Just stop talking about them. You can tell all the people you meet face to face what you think about them, but don't give the bad guys the courtesy of documenting that effort online and providing them the evidence that they need that their tactics are working. Make them work for it, okay? If they're sitting there and they're running this op and it's a disinformation op, and they see that you're spreading all this online and you're causing all these arguments and you're breaking people apart in online forums and communities, they know that their effort is working and they're going to double down and they're going to keep doing it. If they see nothing, if they see no conversation, if nothing is happening, they're going to go, well, what we're doing is not working. Okay, we're going to have to come up with something else. Make them work for it. These people get paid. Make them earn it. Jesus. We have a serious problem in our half of this conflict. We have little to no trust. Now trust is earned. There's no doubt about that, and it comes in several layers. And that point seems to be missed by a lot of people. They have this idea, this concept of trust that it's digital, meaning it's either there or it's not. You either trust someone or you don't trust them. And that's not true at all. Trust is analog. You have various layers and levels of trust. You earn and you build trust over time with shared experiences and actions. And let me delve into that a little bit. So I have friends that I've known for more than 20 years that I know I can trust for some things, but only a couple of them that I could trust in a fight. Okay, and that's because I've trained with a couple of them, and I know what they can do. And what they know what I can do, but some of the others I haven't trained with them. We have a long history, and we've gone out to the range a few times and things like that, but we haven't really trained together. Now I know I can trust them for other things. I can call them up and say, hey, I need you to hold on to this 5-gallon bucket for a while, and at some point I may call you and ask you to put that bucket on your back porch for me to pick it up. And they'll do that. No problem. They'll be like, sure, cool, I'll do it. No big deal. They won't ask any questions about it. They won't want to know what's in the bucket. And if I ask them to, put it out there, they'll do that. They'll have no problem doing that. But if I ask them to pick up a rifle and say, hey, we need to go do something, they're going to be reluctant to do that. They're going to be like, hey, whoa, hey, you might be stepping over the line here a little bit. That's okay. That's totally fine. I know where I stand with all these guys. Now, on the other hand, I have guys who I don't know all of that well, but because I haven't known them for that long, but I've trained with them a lot. I know that in a fight, I can trust what they can do, and I know what they're capable of. But if I needed something like the bucket, they're not good for that. I just haven't known them long enough for them to take that kind of leap. But if we found ourselves in a fight, we would be good. And then I have friends and family that I can trust in a fight, and I can trust them to keep their mouth shut about things. And of course, we all have people that we can't trust to do any of those things. And that's just how trust is. It's this analog, variable thing. It's not a on or off. When you have neither shared experiences or actions with people, well, then of course it's a low level of trust, and that's just logical. But at the same time, just because you don't trust someone does not mean that they're fed trying to get you, okay? That's a level of paranoia that just borders on clinical, okay? You're playing right into that red flag law. Well, these guys think everyone's a Fed, so what do the Feds do? Well, I'm going to go try to take his guns. You're playing right into that. I just kind of, for me, I use a simple stoplight kind of analogy to classify people. Green, they're good to go. Red, they're not. But keep in mind that there's a yellow for people that you don't know how to classify. You don't trust them, but they've not done anything to directly cause you harm. They're neither friend nor foe until they show otherwise, and that's why they're yellow. It's a caution, right? I have a host of new neighbors around me that I've yet to meet them, so they're all yellow right now. I can't go off and start calling them Feds just because I don't know them. And they're not a green yet, right? That would be stupid, and it would be madness. But yet we have people online that are doing just that to all kinds of people that they have no idea about. Because someone said one thing online, made one comment, whatever. Oh, that guy's a Fed. Oh, that guy's, he's an op, If we followed the right-wing internet logic, if you gathered 5 right-wingers together, one of them's a federal agent, 2 of them are informants, and the 4th one is a Jew trying to subvert all of them. And the 5th guy's just clueless and is just there because he wants the lulz. That kind of mindset is absolutely unsustainable. We're losing before we even hit the field because people can't get past old propaganda and manipulation. We are under siege in a psychological war, and our walls are collapsing, okay? We have got to do better than this. And the answer to this that I think is meat space, and it's local. And this is something that we harp on, Concerned American harps on the mothership all the time. And I can't stress this enough that you have got to get out from behind the computer screen and go out into the real world, okay? IRL. You need to meet these people and get to know them. And if you think they're a problem, then you can just avoid them and go meet some other people and associate with other people. But this is the only way that you're going to know for sure. This is the only way that we can really combat this effort that's being projected against us. And we have to fix this problem very quickly, because I believe this is all coming to a head very soon, and we have very little time. Okay, I think some kind of group activity is the best way to do this. I tried to do this with the hikes that we were doing a while back, and that really didn't work out. We didn't really get a lot of turnout there. So, I can't organize this. I can't make this happen, but someone needs to, okay? Somebody out there that's listening, or somebody on the mothership, somebody needs to put these things together. We should be having hundreds of meetups all over the country with small numbers of people so they can get to know, their local like-minded individuals. But, I doubt that's going to happen. But I want to say, I want to be able to say that I warned people and I tried to do it, but it is what it is. One other thing though, I got a taste of what's coming when I was out in Missouri training, and I want to warn you all, you're not ready for this. Okay. You have no clue unless you did this professionally before. Then you've got a really good idea. But if you haven't done this before, you got no clue. Far too many of us didn't do that, and you're going to be in for a cruel and brutal awakening when the time comes. I hate to break that to you, but somebody has to. Now that's all I got time for today, guys. Like and subscribe. Come see us over on Gab and the Mothership. And I will see you on the next episode.